Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for coming. I'd like to make a couple of brief announcements before we begin the program. I want to urge everyone who is able to join us next Friday evening, October 13th, in Lexington at the Scottish Rite Masonic Museum, formerly known as the National Heritage Museum, for a film screening of They Shall Not Perish, the Story of Near East Relief. This is the first public showing of this excellent documentary on the history of Near East relief and its massive efforts to rescue Armenian and other lives during and after World War I. The film is presented by Naasr and the Near East Foundation with the co-sponsorship of the AGBU New England District, ANCA Eastern Mass, Armenian Assembly of America, Facing History and Ourselves, and Knights of Vartan Ararat Lodge. And in addition to the screening, there will be a panel discussion with Taner Akjam, Haig Demoyan, who is here tonight. Please wave, Haig. Thank you. Shant Martirosyan, who is a board member of the Near East Foundation and the executive producer of the film, and Dr. Nora Nersessian, and it will be moderated by your humble servant. Also, please join us in 2 weeks here at Naasr on October 19th for a lecture by Dr. Dikran Kaligian entitled The Battle of Bash Abaran, Winning Independence for the First Republic of Armenia. And this is co-sponsored by Naasr and the Armenia Tree Project. So hope you can join us for that as well. Should be very interesting. Tonight's program is co-sponsored by the Cambridge-Yerevan Sister City Association and the Naasr Calouste Gulbenkian Foundation Lecture Series on Contemporary Armenian Issues. This is the second year of Naasr's collaboration with the Gulbenkian Foundation, and it is now more than 30 years that we've worked with Cysca. So we're very happy to continue both of these valuable partnerships. So with that, I'll turn things over to Alyssa Stepanyan from the Cambridge-Yerevan Sister Association and tonight's program. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. For those of you who are not familiar, I just want to give a little brief overview about Cysca. Cambridge-Yerevan Sister City Association was founded about 30 years ago by a group of citizens in Cambridge. And since then, we have had numerous programs. We've had professional exchanges, youth exchanges. We help needy schools in the villages in Armenia, especially in Bert, and various other efforts that we have put forth over the years, including events such as this, hosting groups from Armenia, which we're very pleased to do. I'd like to start by asking each person to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about who you are and what you do. So, Rosemary, if I could ask you to start first, and there's your microphone.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me to participate. My name is Rosemary Conforti. I'm a professor at Southern Connecticut State University. I teach in the Department of Media Studies, and I do specialize in media literacy education. I had an amazing opportunity last year to visit in Yerevan for about a month for my sabbatical leave, where I was studying global media literacy and education initiatives. And one of the centers that I visited was the Media Initiative Center, where I met Lucine, who's here, and Nune, who is her director. And as a result, I've made, I think, a wonderful connection, and we've started talking a lot about what can be done locally and globally for media literacy education for especially young children.
Okay. Thank you very much. Siranush?
Բարև, ես Սիրանուշ Գալստյանն եմ, շատ ուրախ եմ, որ պետք է խոսեմ նման լսարանի առաջ։
Hello, my name is Siranush. Galestan, and I'm very happy to be here and speak to this audience.
Ես աշխատում եմ Հայաստանի մանուկներ զարգացման հիմնադրամում, մեծայրում համայնքի Smart սենյակում որպես համակարգող։ Smart սենյակը ժամանակակից տեխնոլոգիաներով հագեցած սենյակ է, որը նոր հնարավորություն է համայնքի երեխաների եւ ամբողջ բնակչության համար։
I work for Children of Armenia Fund. I'm a coordinator of smart rooms. Smart rooms are rooms equipped with different smart technologies that help children use those technologies and be closer to new technologies.
Smart սենյակի ծրագրերից մեկն էլ վերջերս մեդիագրագիտության դասընթաց խմբակներ, որ գործում էր համայնքում, որի խմբակավարն եմ եղել ես։
One of the most recent initiatives of the Smart Room is the media literacy courses we provide, and I happen to be one of the trainers of media literacy.
Բարև ձեզ։ Ես Արմինե Խլոյանն եմ։
Hello, I am Armenia Khaloyan.
Ես աշխատում եմ Հայաստանի ազգային պոլիտեխնիկական համալսարանի ավագ դպրոցում, դասավանդում եմ հասարակագիտություն եւ զուգահեռ ռոբոտաշինության խմբակի ղեկավարն եմ։
I am a teacher with the high school adjacent to the Armenian Yerevan, Yerevan State Polytechnic Institute, and I am a social studies teacher, and I also had the robotics laboratory.
Քանի որ հասարակագիտությունը որպես գիտություն աշակերտների մոտ զարգացնում է քննադատական մտածողությունը, կարծիքների արտահայտումը եւ ձևավորում է ճիշտ արժեհամակարգ, ռոբոտաշինությունն էլ զարգացնում է ստեղծարար մտածողություն.
With social studies, we try to instill critical thinking with our students, and also with robotics, we foster creative thinking among our students.
Կարողանում են աշակերտները իրենց տեսական գիտելիքները գործնականի վերածել, նոր մտքեր արտահայտել եւ այս երկուսի կապը համատեղ լավ արդյունքի է հասցնում մեդիա ոլորտում զարգացումներ տալու համար։
These two disciplines help students to put theoretical knowledge to practice, and they also contribute to a better media environment in Armenia.
Բարև ձեզ, ես Շուշանն եմ, Գորիսից եմ, աշխատում եմ Գորիսի մամուլի ակումբ հասարակական կազմակերպությունում։
Hello, I am Shushan, and I represent Goris Press Club.
Այստեղ եմ բաց աշխարհ ծրագրի շրջանակներում եւ Գորիսի մամուլի ակումբում եւ համակարգում եմ մի ծրագիր, որը կոչվում է Սյունիք Ինֆոտոն։
I'm here as part of the Open World Leadership Program, and as part of my duties within the Goris Press Club non-governmental organization, I had a unit that is called Syunik Info House.
Ինֆոտոներ գործում են Հայաստանի 8 քաղաքներում, որոնք նպատակ ունեն մեդիագրագիտությունը զարգացնել եւ ընդհանուր տեղեկատվություն տալու հմտություններ զարգացնել մարդկանց մոտ, ինչու՞ չէ նաև տարածել այդ տեղեկատվությունները ավելի գրագետ ձևով։
There are 8 info houses throughout Armenia, and their main purpose is to foster media literacy in Armenia, and also to give the tools to youth, to young people in the communities to be better media consumers.
Եվ այդտեղ նաև ես մեդիագրագիտության դասընթացավար եմ։
And I also am a trainer of media literacy in the center.
Բարև ձեզ, ես Նինա Գանջալյանն եմ։
Hello, my name is Nina Ganjalyan.
Ես աշխատում եմ Հայաստանի մանուկներ հիմնադրամում որպես Մարցենյակի համակարգող։
I am a Smart Room coordinator with the Children of Armenia Fund.
Նաև մեդիագրագիտության դասընթացավարն եմ։
And I am also a media literacy trainer. Hi, I am Anahit Khachadrian. I'm here as the facilitator and translator of the group, and I also work for the US Embassy in Armenia.
Yeah, actually, she's the initiator of this project. She had the idea, and I'll give her some rest, and I'll try to speak in English. I'm Lucina Grigorian, and I work at Media Initiative Center in Yerevan, which is an NGO and does lots of work in the field of media literacy, promoting media literacy education in Armenia, and I think I'll have a chance to present what we're doing there.
Thank you very much. All of you are wonderful, terrific ladies. We're so pleased to have you here this week. Before we get started with any questions for the group, I wanted to invite all of you to turn your chairs towards the screen for a few minutes. Lucine is going to do a presentation on her work as well as her colleagues' work for a few minutes.
What we understand when we say media literacy, it's the set of skills that allows people to access the information they need, to analyze and evaluate whatever information they get, which is in red because that's the most important for us, especially in Armenia, the critical part of it, critical thinking, analytical skills, to being able to evaluate whatever you get. The next step is being able to create media and create a piece of information if you need it, if it's something important for your right, your cause, for the society. Reflect on the information you get or the create, and the act part, which is we understand as the society becoming really critical and involved consumers of media. Like they demand quality media, they understand that they are paying for the information they get, regardless they are paying money or not, but they are those who are creating the demands, and if they understand that, they will start dictating the standards, requiring good quality, acting, protesting if it's necessary, and get involved in these fields. So this is the general understanding of media literacy, not only in Armenia, it's the international understanding. Media literacy also is about seeing the whole picture, not just part of it, not just one point of view, like it's the same picture from, I don't know, Western point of view and the Arabic media's point of view, how US used to treat Iraqi soldiers. It's just an example. It's become a symbol all over the world of critical thinking and biased media, understanding how media works and how it can present the same situation in very different, from very different aspects and viewpoints. And we are trying to help people to be able to see the whole picture and understand how it works. Why it matters? Because we are certain, we think that media affects like what we read, what we watch on TV or something. It affects on our everyday choices, and it makes us who we are, what we think about the world around us, what we think about the I don't know, reforms our government is doing, things that are going on around us, on the quality of our life. It helps to build civil society and democracy in the country if you have really quality media, independent press, and people are free to speak up and they value freedom of speech. So that's why we decided to get into this and do this project in media literacy. Some figures about the media in Armenia. So we have about 1 million people on Facebook, which is growing daily, like lots of people are on Facebook. We have about 20 radios, 30 TV stations, and the surveys, which are not very up to date. Actually, we don't have very much data recently, but TV still remains the most influential media in Armenia. So whatever people see on the screen, it affects what they think and what decisions they take. According to international, like Freedom House statistics and surveys, press is not free in Armenia, but internet is. So we have lots of diversity on the internet. We have lots of debate, discourse online, but it's not about media in general. This statement also includes, ownership issues in Armenian media, violence against journalists, and various different aspects of media being free or independent. Who we are, Media Initiative Center, that's an NGO that works in Armenia from 1995 and was known before as Internews Media Support NGO. Just recently we changed the name. And some of our goals are here. We are trying to protect journalists' rights, help them increase their professional skills, doing lots of training, offer some projects to build their capacity, technical support and lots of other things. And we are doing many activities in media literacy education, also because working with professionals for about 20 years, we came to realize that it's not enough. We also need consumers who understand what's good and what's bad, and they are able to demand what they want from the journalists. to create the environment that supports really good journalism and media. So what we have done so far, before coming here, one of the main achievements for us is that we have developed this handbook, and I'll leave this one maybe with the library here. Might have a look later, and it might be, I don't know, useful for the Armenian community here. Media literacy handbook for teachers, mainly it's aimed at high school teachers, which includes 10 topics around media, critical thinking, different types of media, understanding media, and so on. And it includes lesson plans. It includes some theoretical basis for teachers to read and have some idea about these different topics around media. And it has lots of activities there, but it's not just a book. It includes 2 DVDs. One contains audio and visual materials for teachers to use during the classes, and the second one is a computer game. I will show you in a minute. Educational computer game on the same topics, like what is news, why is it important, a bit about media history, regulations and ethics, understanding differences of different types of media, being able to analyze it, what is, how to, deconstruct commercials, messages, and so on. And everything is also available online. It's not just books. After developing this handbook, we started reaching out to teachers, offering training. Like we do 3 full-day training for various groups of teachers, be they in Yerevan or regions. And then we also work with librarians, with some non-governmental organizations like Children of Armenia Fund. They've included this media literacy in some of their smart room projects because they now have some trained teachers to do the clubs. What else? Yeah, these are some visuals here for. This is the Naasr community. Oops. Technical program with the photos. So we do this. Okay, sorry about this technical issues. Yeah, I try to include some of pictures from the communities. This is the Koti community, which is a bordering community, and their smart room is also called safe room because it's actually in a bunker. It's on the border with Azerbaijan, and they also need some safety for their after-school classes, and Nina works there. She may be able to tell more about it later. Metayrum, Siranush is doing the same kind of trainings there. Sorry, I can't show you the photos, although I try to include them. And Goris from Shushan's. And here are the, well, this is the first one. This is the first computer game that we developed a few years ago, and this is part of the handbook and the curriculum we offer to schools. And it goes through all the topics that are in the book. I'm not sure if we have a good connection to showcase. Okay. No, not the video. It's online. This is the Media AM website. It's also our website. This is the only media critique analytical website in Armenian. They have an English version as well. The first news is this student. She's a student of journalism department at Yerevan State University. She was the winner of our contest called I Am the Media. This is a student contest where students are invited to write essays and reflections about media affects their life, what they think about various issues like fake news and so on. And we have the game here. It's free. It's open to all. It has been translated into Ukrainian. This is it. Romanian and Belarusian. Our colleagues from these countries were interested, and we managed to adapt and translate the game so their children, students also can play the game. I'm afraid it will take long to load. I'll go to the second game because I have the pre-downloaded video about that one. So this is the second one. We are still working on it. And let me play the video, which will kind of explain what's it about. I hope we'll have the sound.
The story goes that one day the princess of Informia land, who is the guarantor of truth and trust, disappears. Rumors spread that she is marrying Manipulus, the oppressor of the neighboring land who always wanted to occupy Informia and destroy the peace people living there. But Literatus, Veritas' lover, doesn't believe the lies spread by Manipulus and decides to find his lover by all means. On his way to find and free Veritas, Literatus visits 10 destinations, and on every stage of the game he needs to verify information, debunk fakes, and find out the truth to overcome the challenges. After identifying where Manipulus has taken Veritas, Literatus travels to Riverside Castle to find out that they have already left. But he meets the citizens queuing to buy bottled drinking water, as, according to news, because of global warming, the winter in the mountains and the river has dried out, leaving no water for the city. Literatus has to find the hidden objects, analyze them and the situation to find out the truth and answer Doctus's questions. So he takes the bottled water to the laboratory and finds out that it's just ordinary tap water. Then reads and analyzes newspaper articles. Afterwards does some research on the internet and finds out that winter was very snowy. The river hasn't dried, but someone has changed the canal, and the bottle sold in town is owned by Manipulus' company. Overcoming several challenges, Literatus reaches Manipulus' seaside villa and finds a group of activists and locals protesting in front of the castle. The investigative journalist tells him that Manipulus has changed the canal of the river to serve his hydroelectric power plant, leaving thousands of acres of farmland to dry out. On the other hand, pro-Manipulus media says the power plant makes energy cheaper and provides jobs to locals. Literatus double-checks the information and also finds out that Manipulus has now escaped to an island called Panama. Later during the game, Literatus visits Panama, discovers Manipulus' hidden offshore businesses covered under the name of charity, and helps the police to charge him while he finally finds Veritas in the castle on the island. After finishing the game, the player gets the score and short friendly evaluation of his or her media literacy and information verification skills.
So you see, it's almost real life stories. We have corruption, we have offshores, activists, everything that people see every day in their life, at least in Armenia. We are developing, yeah. Was it this one? So we are doing this Armenian version, but we have the we can translate and have the other language versions. As you see, we have Latin names, and it's not like very local. So there is the possibility to have translations, and we are looking for some funding for that, to have the English one and maybe other Russian and so on. This is the latest, and it promises to be really good. We'll see how it goes. We hope that by the end of the year we'll have it launched. This is the game and some of the main points. So we have trained about 400 people so far, and I don't have exact statistics how many of them are using, but many of them are using the resources and the methods and the curriculum. Some of the topics are included in social science textbooks because it happened that one of the authors took part in our training and she liked it and she included it in the textbook. National Institute of Education, they worked with us on this and they encouraged us with this project, and they also included in their trainings, and they're trying to help us and promote as much as they can. We are working with co-op, info houses that Shushan represents, some schools and other NGOs. We have media literacy courses in a couple of universities, like the main pedagogical university introduced methodology of teaching media literacy. They do it in Institute of Theatre and Cinema. There is also this Bruce Institute of Languages and Social Sciences. We did their one semester course, and they want to do it again next year. So I told you about the game. The recent achievement was this memorandum signed with the Ministry of Education. The case is that we do this all on an NGO level. It's funded mainly by foreign donors, mainly at the moment by US aid, but we also work with various other donors. We're trying to advocate so that states realizes the importance of this, includes it into the national curriculum and required training of teachers, because the main thing is having people who can do that, and for that we need this be part of the pedagogical training, so they have the skills when they graduate and when they go to schools. The handbook is approved by the ministry as an extracurricular material, so which means they allow teachers to use it, but they don't allocate any money or any subject hour, or it's not something required. And if you know, in Armenia, you need this to be pushed from top, and as long as it's not required, not many people will bother to look into some new things, put extra effort. So we're trying to motivate teachers as much as we can and promote this with the help of these young ladies and other partners we have in Armenia. We do have kind of support of the government, and they are happy that we are doing this so far, and we hope that we'll be able to achieve some more things in the future. This is when they signed the memorandum with the minister. These are a couple of our old project. This was the first kids program that we did. It's also media literacy project when we involve school children in making a program. This was made together with our Georgian and also Azerbaijani partners. Kids from 3 countries would be trained together, and then they go to their countries, each of them, and they make this program, and 3 countries would broadcast it. But it's been years that we can't do it anymore. This is another very exciting project, and I think that will be it. This is the mobile media museum. I'll play, I think if it works, I'll play the video. No, I don't think it will go through. This was the first exhibition of the museum dedicated to the earthquake of 1988.
Ես տեսա եւ սարսափեցի ու ապարատը վզից լինելով հանդերձ առանց նկարելու փախա այն մեծ ցելոֆանի տոբրագից, որի մեջ հավաքված են երեխաների ցերկի։ Առաջի 3-4 ժամը ընդհանրապես չեմ կարողացել նկարել։ Արդյունք է գալիս, ոչ ֆոկուս եմ կարում բռնել, ոչ ապարատ։ Հետո որ ապարատը դնում է իր աշկիդ, ջղայնանում էին, ասում են ինչ ես եկել, քո տեղը մի հատ կռան կար ավելի լավ ջուր, քան թե դու ես եկել։
Ровно год и 3 месяца назад сделан этот снимок.
Все говорят, это, наверное, не вы, это ваша мама, наверное.
Գիտեք ով է Նոստրադամուս։ Այո, Նոստրադամուսը ցավը վերջին ժողովուրդը գլա, որ գլա աշխարհի վրա հայը դիլա։
Как вам год? Что у вас там? 2 года прошло, а правительственная программа выполнена всего на 15%.
Но неожиданной для всех нас оказалась эта готовность помочь. Ничего подобного мы прежде не видели.
Երկրաշարժի 4 հարգից դրա, բայց բախտս չպերեց, շենքը չպլա։ Հումոր է։
Երրորդ օրը ես հասկացա, որ էլ չեն դիմել, ուղղակի ֆիզիկապես չեմ դիմանում, մտա մի հատ դագաղի մեջ ու քնեցի։
This was a kind of a project about the earthquake, but also it was a project about the role of media in this kind of situation, how media acted and how it helped, how it affected the events of that time, media coverage, both local and international, because this was the first, or at least one of the first cases when we had international media coming to Soviet Union and opening some of the windows to the world, and also how these kind of events affect media. This is also about the role of media, about the challenges journalists face. And this was all in touch screens, which we could take to various towns of Armenia and have people come and talk to them and show everything. Now the team is working on a different topic. They are doing this exhibition on the topic of corruption, how media covers corruption in independent Armenia and so on. But we are thinking about various others, like Karabakh War, how media covered this issue, and lots of other things. Yeah, so I think that's it, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Sorry if it was very long.
I'd like to start by asking each of the ladies what stood out to you from this week, from the different meetings that we attended, and why. So if I could ask Siranush to start.
Maybe from here, as we have.
Մեր ամբողջ շաբաթը լեցուն էր տարբեր գիտելիքներով, բայց ես կառանձնացնեմ ինձ առավել դուր եկած դա հանդիպում էր Swamscott դպրոցում.
The whole week was full of very interesting and impressive meetings, but I would like to highlight and single out the meeting and the visit we had to Swamscott High School this morning, actually.
Այն ամենը ինչ ես տեսա այս ամբողջ շաբաթվա ընթացքում եւ սովորեցի, ես տեսա թե ինչպես են կիրառում այստեղ.
And the reason I want to highlight this meeting because this was an opportunity to see in practice whatever all the meetings and what I learned throughout the different meetings I had during this week. I had the opportunity to witness during the class that we observed.
Եվ ինչու եմ հենց առանձնացնում ավագ դպրոցը, քանի որ ես այնտեղ տեսա արդեն պատրաստի մեդիագրագետ սպառողների.
And the reason I want to single this experience single out this experience is because there we witnessed high school students who are already ready, we can say experts in media literacy.
Եվ պարզ է, որ այդ արդյունքին նրանք հասնում են դեռ վաղ տարիքից մեդիագրագիտություն ուսուցանելով.
And the reason it works like that is because they had the opportunity to study, to be exposed to media literacy trainings from very early age.
Եվ առաջին քայլը, որ ես կանեմ Հայաստան գնալուց հետո, դա կլինի իմ ծրագրում ավելի փոքր տարիքի երեխաների ընդգրկելը.
And now I know that once I go back to Armenia, the first thing that I'm going to take up is to adapt my trainings to a younger cohort of students.
Քանի որ կարծում եմ, որ նրանք նոր են սկսում մոտ գործել մեդիա դաշտ եւ առավել հեշտ է նրանց այդ տարիքից նախապատրաստել.
Because these are youngsters, they will be making their first steps in engaging with media, in using media, so it would be easier and more beneficial to start influencing them from that age.
Նաև այս հանդիպմանը ինձ պարզ դարձավ, որ այստեղ ծնողները նույնպես շատ ներգրավված են իրենց երեխաների մեդիակրթության մեջ.
And this meeting also helped me understand that their parents, the students' parents, are also very involved in helping their children be more media savvy.
Եվ կարծում եմ ճիշտ կլինի ժամանակ առ ժամանակ կազմակերպել մեդիա դասընթացներ նաև ծնողների համար.
And this also prompted that it would be good to also organize meetings and trainings for media literacy trainings for parents as well.
Ուրեմն շաբաթը շատ հագեցած էր մեր համար եւ հանդիպումները եւ տպավորությունները. Շատ ինֆորմացիա վերցրինք, որը դեռ ժամանակ է պետք որ մարսենք ու մտածենք թե ինչպես դա կարելի է ադապտացնել մեր մոտ.
This was a very full week for us. There was a lot of information that we took in, but it will certainly take some time once we really digest what we learned during this week.
Մի ընդհանրական գիծ, որ ամենաշատը ինձ դուր եկավ, այդ են ազատությունն էր, որը այստեղ ունեն աշակերտները, այսինքն տվել են նրանց ուսուցիչները, դասախոսները.
One general theme that I want to highlight, a trend that I observed, is the freedom that students have within classrooms, and that's thanks to the teachers. They are able to communicate freely and to voice their and express their thoughts in classrooms without any limitations.
Այս ընթացքում մենք նաև դասերի ներկա եղանք եւ այդ հարգանք ու հավասարին ուսուցիչ աշակերտ փոխհարաբերությունները շատ նախանձելի էին.
So we had the opportunity to be present in different classrooms, observe different classes, and I can almost say that I was envious to see the relative equality, teacher and student relationship, that there was no hierarchical relationship. People were talking, one person to another without any limitations.
Դրա մի օրինակը մենք տեսանք Willock College-ում.
One such example was Willock College.
Եվ այնտեղ ուսուցիչը խոսում էր տարբեր խնդիրների մասին, գենդերային դերերի, ռասիզմի եւ այլ հիմնախնդիրներից, մարդու իրավունքների հետ կապված.
At Willock College, we observed a class where the teacher raised issues of race, human rights, gender issues.
Եվ միակ խնդիրը, որը կա, դա այն է, որ դրան նպաստում են նաև ռեսուրսները, որ իրենք ունեն դասարաններում.
And students and the teacher engaged in very informative discussion, and one thing is that the resources they have at hand and the tools they have at hand really contribute to that fruitful discussion.
Եվ մենք պիտի մտածենք, թե ինչպես մեր հնարավորություններով եւ այն ինչ որ մենք այստեղ ստացանք, ադապտացնենք ու հնարավորինս փորձենք ստացածը կիրառել մեր մոտ.
And we have to really think hard to understand how we can adapt what we learned, how we can adapt that in our environments with less equipped classrooms, with not so many resources as we saw here.
Ինչպես նշեց Շուշանը, ես համամիտ եմ Շուշանի հետ, շատ բաներ տեսանք այս շաբաթվա ընթացքում, թե ինչպես են ուսուցիչները դպրոցում, քոլեջում, համալսարանում աշակերտների հետ հաստատում այնպիսի կապ, որտեղ չկան սահմանափակումներ, կա ազատություն, իսկ ազատության մեջ մարդ իրեն ավելի անկաշկանդ, ավելի անբռնազբոսիկ է դրսևորում եւ արտահայտում է այն, ինչը որ զգում է, ինչը որ կարեւորում է ասել.
I want to echo what Shushan already said. After visiting both universities, colleges, and high schools, the relationship between students and professors and students and teachers we observed creates this atmosphere, this environment of freedom. And when there is freedom, students are free to express themselves without any limitation, and they can be free in their thinking.
Շատ դուր եկավ, որ հասարակագիտության դասերի ժամանակ լինում են on-line ֆիլմերի դիտումներ, քննարկումներ, որը որ աշակերտների մոտ ավելի զարգացնում է քննադատական մտածողությունը, կարծիք արտահայտելու հմտությունը եւ որ կարեւորվում է, որպեսզի նրանք տարբերեին երկխոսությունը բանավեճից.
I really like that during social studies classes there was a practice of showing films and having discussions afterwards, which creates critical thinking, creates the ability to express one's opinion, to talk about perspective, and also to engage in dialogue and distinguish dialogue from argument.
Եվ բացի on-line ցուցադրումներից ցուցադրվում էին նաև աշակերտների մոտ խմբային աշխատանքի ոգին էր շատ ճիշտ զարգացվում. Ճիշտ է, ես մեզ մոտ Հայաստանում իմ դասապրոցեսների ժամանակ դա կիրառում եմ, ուղղակի տարբերություն այստեղի քոլեջների եւ դպրոցների մենք չունենք այդ հնարավորությունները, խոչընդոտ է հանդիսանում բոլոր լսարաններում համակարգիչների եւ պրոյեկտորների արկայությունը, որ ֆիլմերի տեսնելը, քննարկելը, վերլուծողական մտքի զարգացումը ավելի խորի հիմքերի վրա դրվի.
I really liked the teamwork I observed. There was a lot of that happening. And just looking back at the classes I teach, I also encourage discussion. I encourage a lot of debate in my classrooms. But just looking at the limitations of our classrooms, where we don't have the computers, we don't have the projectors, and we can't do it online. We cannot stream videos online in the classroom. That creates certain limitations in what we can do.
Ինֆորմացիան չափից ավելի շատ է, շատ կարևոր է, որպեսզի այստեղից վերցրած փորձը, թե ինչպես են հենց այդ պահի նորությունը միանգամից աշակերտների ուսանողների հետ վերլուծում, ի տարբերություն մեզ Հայաստանի, որ մենք ավելի ուշ ենք ինֆորմացիայի վերլուծությունը սկսում աշակերտների հետ, նոր.
There was a lot of information, and in general there is a lot of information, and it was very interesting to observe how teachers were able to take the news of that day, that very specific day, and apply it to the class. And they were able to analyze information that got from the news during that day, as opposed to the situation we have in Armenia, where teachers are not so much up to date in terms of adapting the class to the current news. We lag somewhat lag behind.
Եվ շատ հավանեցի Լեսլի համալսարանի փորձը, որ ռոբոտաշինությունը կարելի է ասել կամ ինֆորմատիկայի եւ հասարակագիտության ինտեգրում կար, որ այնտեղ ոչ միայն հասարակագիտություն, այլև տեխնիկական գիտությունների միջոցով փորձում էին աշակերտներին ավելի հասու դարձնել գործիքների կիրառությունը.
And I really liked our meeting, what we got from our meeting from Leslie College, where we saw how robotics is also integrated into robotics technology. IT is also integrated into how students interact with media, and how these tools help them get closer to engage with media.
Որովհետև երբ որ սովորում են լավ գործիքների տիրապետումը եւ կարողանում են իրենք ծրագրավորման մեջ հմտանալ, դա օգնում է մեդիայի հասարակագիտության մեջ, մեդիայի համար հենց իրենք հաղորդումներ փոքր պատրաստեն, արդեն իսկ հմուտ լինելով այդ գործիքների կիրառության մեջ.
As they get closer to, as they learn how to use tools and how to apply these tools and even do programming, then they become users and actually creators of media, and that's how they are better integrated in the society.
Եվ վերջի ամենանկատելի ակնառու փաստը, որ ամեն ինչը ուղղված է ճիշտ արժեհամակարգի զարգացմանը։
And one last thing I want to highlight is that everything we saw was was targeting at creating a better value system.
Ես օգտվելով առիթից, որ այս անգամ միկրոֆոնը լավ է աշխատում, երկու բան պետք է առանձնացնեմ։
Taking advantage of the fact that now the microphone works, I'll have to single out two things.
Երբ ես գրում էի հանդիպումներին, մտածում էի Տեր Աստված վաղը ինչ նոր բան է լինելու, որ այսքան հետաքրքիր լինի, որովհետև հանդիպումները իսկապես մեկը մյուսից կարևոր ու հետաքրքիր էին։
After every single meeting, I would think, okay, what's going to be better than this? Because all those meetings were very interesting.
Բայց ժամանակն է, որ մենք կարողանանք իմի բերել այս ամենը եւ կարողանանք կողմնորոշվել եւ առանձնացնել մեր համար շատ կարեւոր մի երկու բան եւ դրանցից առաջինը
But this is a great opportunity for us to take stock and single out things that really matter to us, and I want to talk about two of those.
Ես պետք է առանձնացնեմ Մասաչուսեթ նահանգի օրենսդիր մարմնի հանդիպումը Դեյվիդ Ռոջերսի հետ։
I want to talk about the meeting we had with the Massachusetts State Representative David Rogers.
Ինչու, որովհետև ինչ շատ դուր եկավ քաղաքական գործիչների ներգրավվածությունը մեդիագրագիտության զարգացման մեջ։
I really appreciated that a politician, a political figure would get involved and take interest in the issue of media literacy.
Եվ ներբությունները թե ինչ մեխանիզմներով են նրանք փորձում աշխատել բնակչության հետ եւ այնուհետեւ այդ կարծիքները այդ հարցումների ընթացքում լսվածները դարձնել օրենք եւ դնել կիրառության։
And it was also interesting to learn about how politicians and legislators engage with their constituents, how they hear their constituents, and how they translate what they hear into policy.
Յուրաքանչյուր գաղափար գեղեցիկ է, յուրաքանչյուր փորձ շատ լավն է եւ շրջելով կազմակերպությունից կազմակերպություն մենք տեսնում ենք թե մարդիկ ինչքան ջանք են դնում որպեսզի մեդիագրագիտությունը զարգանա, սակայն մի բան պակասում է, դա պետական համալիր մոտեցումն է։
Going from one organization to another, we really saw that how people were committed to the issue of media literacy. But one thing that we also observed was the lack of state level or maybe national level policy on media literacy.
Իսկ քանի որ մենք փորձում ենք հասնել լիարժեք արդյունքի այս դարաշրջանում, ուրեմն ոչ թե պետք է աշխատենք մեկ խմբի հետ որևէ ֆինանսավորմամբ, այլ համապարփակ մոտեցմամբ, այսինքն պետական մոտեցում, որը պարտադիր կրթություն կլինի եւ հավասարապես ազդեցություն կունենա բոլոր երեխաների վրա։
But since we are working in the century when we want to have impact that will have impact on the entire society, we cannot just single out groups and work with single groups, but we have to have a more comprehensive approach, and maybe the answer to that is working through state authorities.
Եվ Հայաստան վերադառնալով բացի այն, որ ես պետք է զբաղվեմ մեդիագրագիտության խմբակի աշխատանքներով, ես ինձանից կախված ամեն ինչ anելու եմ, որպեսզի այս հարցը լսելի դարձնեմ պետական մարմիններում։
And when I go back to Armenia, besides just continuing my work as a media literacy trainer and a smart room coordinator, I'm going to take up this issue and make media literacy issues heard at the national level, at the government level.
Եվ ներողություն եմ խնդրում իհարկե շատ խոսել համար, բայց երկրորդ ամենակարևոր բանի համար ես պետք է կարողանամ առանձնացնել հանդիպումները, որոնք ես ուղղակի ունեցա ձեր հետ։
Sorry for taking a bit longer, but the second thing I really want to highlight is the opportunity to meet with all of you.
Եվ նույնիսկ հուզվում եմ ու պետք է աշխատեմ ոչ թե անուն առանուն հիշեմ, այլ ուղղակի ասեմ շնորհակալություն ձեզ հայրենասիրության համար, որ դուք ունեք այստեղ, որովհետև դա նույնպես փորձ էր մեր համար, Հայաստանում ապրող հայերի համար, որքանի որ յուրաքանչյուրս եթե այսքան ջանք դնենք այնտեղ որևէ խնդրի լուծման համար, ինձ թվում է Հայաստանը առաջ կգնա, շնորհակալություն։
And I am a little nervous and might not remember everyone and thank everyone by name, but I just want to extend this thank to all of you and to your patriotism, to your love for your motherland. And if every one of us back in Armenia would have this type of devotion to our motherland, we together will bring big changes to Armenia.
I know I'm talking too much, but I'll talk about two things again. Of course, at first it's easier to focus on differences and what they do differently and what advantages they have. But I also thought about the similarities and things that we have in common, the challenges we face in this field here and in Armenia. So in this sense, I would highlight the first meeting we had here with an organization called Media Literacy Now, Aaron, who is doing sort of similar thing. They are advocating for media literacy, and like they were doing it with volunteers, not having much resources. And that was very inspiring and also encouraging to see others' experience and also to get in touch with this kind of people, and maybe we'll have a chance to do some things together. And I see that here again, most of it is done by like NGOs, civil society, and also individual teachers, schools. They are of course more like independent. They can make their own choices. It's not like in Armenia when schools are more controlled and they look up for decisions from government or so. But yes, and the second one also, Siranush talked a bit about this, the experience of exploring the Armenian community here. We had an Armenian day when we visited the two Armenian newspapers, which was a great experience. We have such like old newsrooms. It's newsroom, but I see one person operating a newsroom or so, which is a hard work. And we met with Steve Kürkcan in the evening, who is great. And we also had on another day, we had a meeting with Barbara and Donald Telelian, if I'm pronouncing correctly, which was a fantastic experience for us to see the sculpture and to learn from him, from the first hand, the story of it. We were all very much impressed with this. And of course, it was a pleasure to be with Cysca and have the opportunity to visit Naasr and have the event hosted here. So it was really good, and I'm thankful to all the people who made this possible.
Thank you. Those are wonderful insights, and it always makes us feel good to know that we've been putting together a good program. I'd like to turn my attention to Rosemary for a minute, and I understand that you have been to Armenia. And I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about your impressions and recommendations that you would suggest regarding media literacy in Armenia.
Yeah, I'd like to begin by echoing what Lucine said, and that is there are many similarities and not just differences. And some of the most important ones that I did notice was that there's great attention to teaching about the media, not through the media. And still here in the US, I find it hard to explain that. It's simply putting in a DVD in a science class and letting the DVD play about some fish or something is not media literacy. Just simply exposing yourself to the media does not make you any more media literate than anyone else. And oftentimes, it is still here in the US not valued and seen as, oh, well, I guess you're watching television and movies. How interesting. Isn't that fun? And when actually, as all of these women said, it's probably the most relevant, the most serious discipline we can be engaged with right now, considering that we all are living in a mediated culture. Not one of us is outside of a mediated culture. Everything we see, everything we do has been mediated. And that was, I think, represented through my visits in Yerevan a great deal, that everything is not represented, but represented through someone's bias, someone's agenda, someone's vision, someone's filter, and that I think both my program and other programs here, as well as in Yerevan, really, really want to stress that. Probably also the need for coherence and rigorous programming and curriculum. That here in the US, why it is so difficult to have media literacy education is because we are so big. The nation is huge, and we have all these different states who have all these different ideas about what should be in which curriculum at what age. Armenia is much smaller. They might have a better shot, really, at forming some sort of coherent curriculum that could be spread everywhere throughout the country. Here it's very, very difficult. So what some people might be doing is marginalizing media literacy education in the US. They'll take, an English teacher might take 10 minutes at the end of a class and try to squeeze it in. And we call that media malpractice. That's bad. That we don't want that. We want trained educators, much like what we're seeing here on this panel. And I'm so impressed with the work that these women do. It's just amazing. And also the similarity of critical thinking. This is critical literacy. It's not just watching cartoons for young people. This is absolute critical thinking, and it is probably, as I said, I think the most important thing we can be doing with young people today. Most of young people, kids, teenagers, and young adults in the US get their news from a news feed. So they are watching what's on their Facebook feed or on their Twitter feed and accepting that as news. And one of, again, the similarities I see is the need for questions. One of my mentors when I was in school always said, to ask is to break the spell. If we can get children, young people, to ask questions about what they see, just like those 3 pictures that Lucine had up there, and say, well, what aren't I seeing? Who made this picture? Who profits from this picture? If you're on a website, if I click, who's going to make money when I click? Those are the questions, economic questions, political questions that we have to ask. This is not simply about watching film. And again, those similarities, I think, were striking during my visit in Yerevan. I will say the need for resources and the need for time is very similar. Those are huge challenges, both in the US and in Yerevan. I had many others. I think the ladies mentioned them. Some of the differences, I will say, is that the emphasis on print media in Yerevan versus the visual media here in the US. Our students are much more interested in the visual media because they live in a visual culture. They don't read newspapers, and they don't consider a lot of what they see on their news feed print. They pay more attention to, and that's statistically true nationwide, if there's a video or an image attached to a story, they will attend more to that. So we are definitely more on the visual end of training. Let's see. I was very impressed that in Yerevan, I think the students are far more interested in political and activist work than our students are. I'm embarrassed to say that. A lot of our students are more interested in maybe getting into a glamour industry through the media. Sometimes they like what they see, and I wish they were a bit more critical of that, but the students in Yerevan are so earnest and so eager to question what they see. So I think that is a great tribute to what the work that's being done there. Here, though, I will say I think our emphasis is more on consumer culture that's represented in the media, about who owns the media, media ownership, that we have really just 5 transnational corporations that own every single thing we see. Everything we read, everything we watch, everything we see, every magazine. It's really just done by a very, very few people. I don't believe it is a conspiracy at all. I don't think there are 5 men sitting in a room somewhere saying, okay, this is what we're going to tell them today. But it is true that media is owned, and having young people understand that it is economics, it is profit-driven, and it's an industry. It's a business. It's not someone doing us a favor by sharing an interesting picture or a story. So I think that was a big difference, a lot more political activism versus our corporate culture. So that was a really huge difference. We also focus, I think, more on race, class, and gender here in the US, and in Yerevan I saw more of a focus on truth and journalism, telling the truth, finding out the truth, and I think that's representative. Those are cultural differences here. So we do spend a lot more time focusing on race, class, and gender, and what do those maybe stereotypes and biases in the media mean in terms of their social impact, not just pointing them out and saying, oh, there's so many boys in that picture and there are no girls being active, but rather what are the consequences of that? What does that mean for how children learn to value themselves, learn their behaviors, their attitudes towards each other? Very, very important. So we do think a lot about that. I could go on and on. I think that's probably, I'm going to apologize like all the other women did. So, but in general, I have to say, of all the media literacy centers that I did visit in Yerevan, I thought that Media Initiative Center had done the most progressive work, and I was so impressed with everything you saw and more that I got to experience. And I hope Lucine will welcome me back, so maybe I could see some of their teacher trainings, because I think they're doing great work there.
Thank you, Rosemary. Before I open it up to questions from the audience, I would like to take this opportunity to thank a few people. First of all, I want to thank Naasr for co-hosting this event and allowing us to have it here. Secondly, we would not be able to have these types of events without the support and help of our host families who are here this evening. So I'd like to thank Berj and Arpine Avazian, Bob and Helen Kalantari, Roxanne Ekmekcan and Nersis Chubanian, and Gary and Natalia Markosian. I'd also like to say from a personal angle that it has truly been a pleasure and a privilege to spend this week with all of you, and we hope that this is the beginning of a long-term relationship. So thank you very much. I'd like to open it up to the audience for any questions or comments. Berj?
So I'm going to speak English, of course. Two things. First, how different is the television media versus the mobile media? And I know there are ownership differences. I know there's much more Russian influence in the mobile side. But here in the US, we carry a television around in our pocket all day long, everywhere we go, and we're always connected, and the media that influences us the most is a personal media that's mobile. We even watch our TVs on our mobiles. But in Armenia, how is that different? What's the similarity? And then the second question is, do you really expect the government to adopt these programs and promote them in the schools, given that the government has much more at stake to control what people think and how they see things? Do they really want to give media literacy? Maybe one person could answer one question, another person could answer the other.
Փորձեմ առաջի հարցին ես պատասխանել, երկրորդ հարցով երևի ավելի շատ մեդիա նախաձեռնությունների կենտրոնն է ավելի նախաձեռնող, գուցե իրենք պատասխանեն։ Կապված հեռուստաընկերությունների եւ on-line ռեսուրսների հետ, ասեմ, որ նույն խնդիրը կա նաեւ Հայաստանում, այսինքն նույն իրավիճակն է նաեւ Հայաստանում, եւ երիտասարդներն ավելի շատ օգտվում են on-line ռեսուրսներից։
I'll start with the first question, and then Lucine from Media Initiative Center take the second question. I just want to say that we have a similar situation in Armenia, as youth are more prone to get their news from online media.
Եվ հեռուստաընկերությունը ավելի շատ ազդեցություն ունի մեծահասակների վրա եւ այն մարդկանց վրա, ովքեր չունեն տանը երիտասարդներ, ովքեր չեն օգտվում on-line ռեսուրսներից եւ նրանց միակ ինֆորմացիա աղբյուրը հեռուստատեսությունն է։
But TV has much more is much more influential with adults, especially those adults that don't have younger people in their households, and the only source of information for them remains television.
Եթե խոսքը ռուսական մամուլի մասին է, բնականաբար նրա ազդեցությունը ավելի շատ է, քանի որ խնդիրը այն է, որ մեծամասամբ ռուսերեն լեզվին է լավ տիրապետում եւ շատ քիչ է մանավանդ մեծահասակների շրջանում, ովքեր կարող են միջազգային լրատվությանը հետևել։
If we were to compare the influence of Russian versus Western media, I would say the influence of the Russian media is much more because there are more people who speak Russian or who can consume Russian media.
Եվ հեռուստաընկերության ազդեցությունը, երբ որ մենք շփվում ենք մարդկանց հետ, շատ տարբերվում է մարդկանց հետ, ովքեր սոցիալական ցանցերից են օգտվում, համացանցից են օգտվում, եւ այն մարդկանց, որոնք միայն հեռուստաընկերությունից են ինֆորմացիա ստանում։
And when you talk to people and the discourse you might have, you will see the difference of the people who use television as their main source of information, and you will see the difference of those people who get their news from social media.
Եվ հեռուստաընկերությունը շատ հաճախ կարողանում է մանիպուլյացիոն հնարքներով իր համար ցանկալի ինֆորմացիան հաղորդել մարդկանց։
And very often you will see television putting out information in a manipulative way, putting out information that it's only beneficial to put out to the public.
Difficult question. Well, so far we've been in quite good and positive relationship with the Ministry of Education. They've been welcoming the program we've been doing, and I think they see it as like a must-have thing in the education of 21st century, as everyone is talking about media literacy, and they want to have it on their list as well. And you might know that there are lots of reforms going on in Armenia, and also they are reviewing and changing the education system. I hope for good, and I think I am hoping that we'll have the opportunity to include this. I don't think it will be a subject, because this is not the issue that the educational system is facing. Everyone wants some cool and kind of interesting and important things to become a subject at school, like they are doing financial literacy, they are doing ecological issue, health topics, and media literacy, and so many other things. And the schools, the children already have so much at school, so we don't expect to become a subject. It might be an elective in high schools at some point, but this should be integrated in the curriculum, like the critical thinking part of it. It should be part of the curriculum. It can be in every subject, and it is already, the little part of it is in social studies, so it can be a unit in social studies, understanding the role of media and how it contributes to the civil society and democracy. Yeah, and I think these kind of things are more of a challenge for us to get space in the curriculum for us to get in. We didn't have any other problems with the government so far.
Any other questions? Yes, Jack.
My question is to Sidanush and Nina, who are smart room coordinators for COAF. And I found that to be an interesting term. We tried to find out what that really meant, and I guess it's quite an interesting concept. In fact, the founder of COAF, because they work for COAF, had a panel discussion last night in New York on this subject, smart room coordinator, and maybe either one can explain in a little more detail for the audience what that involves.
Smart սենյակները դա Հայաստանի մանուկներ հիմնադրամի ծրագրերից մեկն է, որը իրականացվում է Հայաստանի գյուղերում.
So, Smart Room is one of the programs of COAF implemented in the villages, in the rural communities of Armenia.
Smart սենյակները մի քանի նպատակ են հետապնդում։
Smart Rooms have several objectives.
Դրանցից առավել կարևորները գյուղաբնակ շրջաններում երեխաներին ապահովել այնպիսի կրթական ծրագրերով, որոնք նրանք այդ կրթական ծրագրերը չեն կարող ստանալ դպրոցում։
One of the main objectives is to provide opportunities to children, training opportunities to children who do not, such opportunities that they do not have within their school systems.
Եվ նաև նշեմ, որ այդ ծրագրերը բացառապես անվճար են, հետևաբար անվճարի դեպքում բոլոր երեխաները հնարավորություն ունեն օգտվելու դրանից։
All these trainings and courses we provide are free of charge, so they are open to everyone.
Smart սենյակներ իրենցից ներկայացնում են տեխնիկապես հագեցված սենյակներ, որտեղ առաջնությունը տրվում է այն ծրագրերին, որոնք առավել մեծ նշանակություն ունեն տվյալ գյուղի համար։
So what are smart rooms? These are rooms equipped with different technologies, and the trainings we provide are in response to the needs of the specific community.
Այդ կարևոր ծրագրերից մի քանիսը կնշեմ, դրանցից առաջնային է անգլերենի ուսուցումը։
So I'll just list several of these programs. For example, the first one I want to mention is English language instruction.
Նաև ռոբոտաշինությունը, մեդիագրագիտությունը,
robotics and media literacy trainings.
Նաև նշեմ, ճիշտ է, մենք առավել շատ smart սենյակ օգտագործում ենք երեխաների համար, հիմնականում դպրոցահասակ երեխաների, մանկապարտեզի երեխաների համար, սակայն smart սենյակները նաև ծառայում են համայնքի մյուս բնակչությանը։
First of all, our cohorts are preschool and school students, but we also serve the rest of the community, the entire community.
Այսինքն յուրաքանչյուր անդամ կարող է այնտեղ իր համար որևէ հետաքրքրություն գտնել, այդպիսի մի ծրագիր ունենք, ինքնուսույց անգլերենի ծրագիր, որը տարիքային որևէ սահմանափակում չկա եւ յուրաքանչյուր ոք ցանկության դեպքում կարող է օգտվել դրանից։
So basically, everyone in the community can find something of interest to him or her to find in the smart room. For example, we have a self-study English program, and it's available to everyone, to adults, and they can come and study English there.
Smart սենյակներում նաև կազմակերպում ենք համայնքային զարգացման ծրագրեր, որոնց մասնակցում են ոչ միայն տվյալ գյուղի բնակչությունը, այլ նաև կողքի գյուղերից են գալիս։ Նաև հնարավորություն ունենք կապվելու Skype-ի միջոցով այլ համայնքի բնակչության հետ եւ տարբեր ծրագրեր քննարկել։
We also organize community development initiatives that are not limited to our community, but are also open to the members of different communities. And we also have the opportunity to organize Skype calls, so people from adjacent communities can also call in and participate in those discussions.
Նաև կցանկանամ նշել մեկ կարևոր հանգամանք եւս, smart սենյակների գոյությունը արդեն այս մեկ տարվա ընթացքում կոնկրետ մեր գյուղում մի քանի մարդկանց արդեն ապահովել է աշխատանքով, ինչը թույլ է տալիս, որպեսզի մարդիկ աշխատանք չփնտրեն դրսում, քաղաքում կամ այլ երկրում, այլ իրենց աշխատանք ունենան իրենց սեփական գյուղում։
One other aspect I want to highlight is that smart rooms have been in operation for almost a year now, and during this time, for example, in our community, they have provided jobs for several of the community members. So these are also an opportunity for community members to stay in the community, not to immigrate or not to seek jobs elsewhere.
She works out of Noyamberian.
Koti, Noyamberian.
In a remote area.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Nancy.
Yes, I have a question on, I notice you're all female woman, and I'm just curious if you've run into many males or men involved in media literacy, and yes or no, and if how that would affect perhaps it expanding. Maybe, I know many people in the government are also males, and I was just thinking about that.
Այո, կան, փաստորեն մեր խմբակներում սկսել ենք ներգրավել նաև տղաների, ինչ է դրական քայլ եմ արդեն համարում։ Ես մտածում եմ, որ նրանք կարողանալու են հետագայում ձեր հետ ասած հարցը կարողանան տեղ հասցնեն, իսկ ընդհանուր խմբակավարներ ես ուղղակի չգիտեմ, այդ մասին գուցե Լուսինեն փորձի պատասխանել։
We have a number of trainees that are male boys in our classrooms, and we hope that they will involving them will inspire more interest among boys and men on the subject. But I'm not aware of trainers who are male and are interested in that subject. Maybe Lucina has to add on something on that.
We talked about this at Lesley University a little bit today, saying that in Armenia, they said also in the States, education is mostly female-dominated field. Like in general, we don't have many men in education, in schools, at least in Armenia. So no, we don't have many men in media literacy education as well, except that we work with our colleagues in the Ministry of Education who are men. And maybe some partners, but in general, well, I have colleagues, men at the organization I work for, but I'm talking about the education system and the teachers and trainers involved in our project. They are mostly women.
Yes, Harry.
It's very interesting. It's the first time I've heard about this smart, whatever it was, smart room. But I believe there's a program called TUMO. And there's another program besides TUMO that was supposed to have been endorsed by the government, and it is available to all the schools throughout Armenia, I believe. Can you comment about that, please?
Do you know the name of that project?
TUMO was one.
Yeah, the other one?
I don't remember what the other
Ես հարցին կպատասխանեմ իմ տեղյակ լինելու չափով, այո, եւ Թումոն կա եւ բազմաթիվ նման գուցե նախաձեռնություններ արդեն, բայց smart նախաձեռնությունները ավելի ճիշտ այդպես ասեմ, COAF-ի, բացի այս 8 smart սենյակները, որոնք գործում են 6-ը Լոռու եւ 2-ը Տավուշի մարզերում, նրանք ունեն նաեւ ստեղծագործարաններ, սենյակներ, որոնք անմիջապես կից են դպրոցներում։ Դրանց թվականակը ես հիմա կոնկրետ չգիտեմ, բայց հիմնականում Հայաստանի Արմավիրի մարզում են սկսել գործել եւ այդպես կից սենյակներ կան դպրոցներում։ Դրանք նման են իրենց գործելակերպով շատ smart սենյակների։
I'll try to answer the question to the best of my knowledge. So these smart rooms operate in 8 communities, 6 in Lori Mars and 2 in Tavush Mars. Of course, there is TUMO center in Yerevan, and there are other initiatives. But in addition to the 8 smart rooms, COAF also operates a number of creative rooms that are located in different schools throughout Armenia and mostly in Armavir region. But these are very close to smart room operations, but they are situated within schools. They are not separate premises.
Եվ մի շատ կարևոր առանձնահատկություն կապված smart սենյակների հետ ես կուզեի շեշտեմ, որպեսզի Նինային այլևս չկրկնեմ, քանի որ ծրագրերը հիմնականում նույնն են եւ մի քիչ են տարբեր։ Ուղղակի ասեմ, որ smart սենյակների ռազմավարությունը տանում է նրան, որ այս սենյակները պետք է մնան համայնքներին, այսինքն համայնքը ինքը պետք է սկսի գիտակցել, հասկանալ այս սենյակների կարևորությունը եւ ամեն ինչ անի, որ այդ սենյակները մնան իրենց մոտ, այսինքն այս ծրագրերը շարունակվեն համայնքում։
One other thing I want to add about smart rooms is that the idea, the strategy behind it is that the communities will retain ownership of smart rooms. So after the program ends, it is envisioned that these rooms will remain under the authority of the community, and community will sustain its operations, the operation of the smart rooms, and that's the sustainability plan.
Yes, David.
Who besides COAF funds your program?
Smart rooms?
Which program are you speaking about?
Media literacy.
Ոչ, համենայն դեպս մեր համայնքներում, որ աշխատում ենք, ես եւ Նինան եւ նման էլի խմբակավարներ, ովքեր աշխատում են smart սենյակներում, ֆինանսավորվում են միայն COAF-ի կողմից, Հայաստանի մանուկների հիմնադրամի կողմից։
Smart rooms are mainly funded by COAF, but Lucina will speak about other initiatives.
So this media literacy project that is done mainly by the Media Initiative Center NGO in Armenia. We have funding. The main part of the funding, it comes from U.S. government. It's U.S. aid program, but we also work with various other donors. We had funding from World Bank that supported, for example, this handbook, and lots of others. We work with COAF, like they sponsored the training of their trainers, and then they maintain the clubs and the programs in their smart rooms. In this sense, they sponsor the program in some instance.
Yes.
I have a question. I know none of you are from academic centers, but do you have partners in academic centers who are setting a research agenda with you? And if you had the dream list of research topics for Armenia, what would it be?
I guess I need to talk about it again. I know only one person who is doing PhD in this topic in Armenia, and he's a colleague of ours. She works at the Brusov University. And I don't know any other person who has done any research on this. I'm thinking about doing it sometime, but we'd love to have, of course, some kind of study on, in general, we are missing study on media consumption in Armenia. We don't have really figures that we can rely on, statistics, I don't know, qualitative studies or other things that will give us the picture of what Armenian young people are using, what they need, what they like about media. We do all based on our experience, the estimates we have, and we'd love to have that. And also maybe then will come the recommendation for including the subject into education and so on. But yes, we're missing that.
Yes, Aram.
Actually, Lucina, you mentioned earlier that you used to have programs in your presentation mentioned with 3 countries, Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, but that stopped a while ago. What led to the halt in these programs?
The particular program I talked about, the children programs, it was going for, I don't know, several years. But we also do, not anymore with Azerbaijan, but we do like Armenian-Georgian projects, we do lots of Armenian-Turkish projects. We think that the civil society should have some other means of interaction and window for information with each other than the official channels, which are usually full of like propaganda or some kind of manipulative content. People should see the other side, should see the people like themselves, how they live, like for the kids to see that there are real people who have the similar interests, they might have some similar problems there, how they are dealing with it. And it was a great program. Over the years, it became more and more difficult for our Azerbaijani partners to work with us. They, I'm sure they are facing lots of difficulties, restrictions. They were not allowed to work with Armenian people or to broadcast anything that we sent to them or something like that. But also we had the funding which finished for this particular program, and we don't have it anymore. But yes, it is a big problem for us to work with Azerbaijani partners. It's almost impossible at this stage.
Yes, Jack.
You might mention the funding source for this program.
Yes. So Open World is a program that is run by the U.S. Library of Congress, and it is the only federal legislative exchange program working with all of the post-Soviet republics and Russia. They work with the embassies in those countries to identify relevant topics, and then individuals such as these ladies can put forth applications to participate in the programs. Organizations like Cysca in the US can bid to host these groups. So we've been fortunate to host 4 of these groups in the past 5 years. And they've been all just fabulous, wonderful groups. So that's where the funding comes from. Yes, Paul.
I'd like to follow up on Rosemary's, it is Rosemary, correct? Comment on critical thinking. And how do you develop critical thinking in a society in which critical thinking has not been a premium in that society, has not been accepted by the ruling hierarchy as something desirable? The USIA, United States Information Agency, in the late 80s and through the 90s, was very much concerned about how journalists shaped public opinion in former Soviet-dominated countries. And they essentially chartered a number of American journalism professors to speak internationally and to train people not only in the use of English, but in critical thinking. And there's three things that they did that I recall, and I witnessed some of this in Bucharest in the 90s. There was a generation of students in this country that was motivated to get into journalism by two things. One is an American president who for the first time stood before the press and answered questions on a live basis, and he did this on a regular basis, and this was John F. Kennedy. And many students opened up their eyes as to the role of journalists, and one of the roles of journalists is to question authority. And people were unaware as to the role of media and the role of media in questioning authority until they saw those live press conferences. Later on, about 15, 16 years later, there was a remarkable film that was made in this country called All the President's Men. And it was based on a book that came out by Bob Woodward. And Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman, very popular Hollywood iconic actors at the time, starred as two investigative journalists, Woodward and Bernstein. And they essentially investigated the Watergate scandal during the reign of Richard Nixon, when he was president. So the USIA took those two models, the Kennedy press conferences and the Woodward-Bernstein, All the President's Men film, and had it translated into various languages, the Czech language, maybe Armenian, I don't know, Polish, Romanian. And the journalism professors went out with these two audiovisual and started speaking to classes in the newly formed republics. And there's three things that they discovered. One is there was sort of a passive acceptance of what was being seen by the students. There was no initiative on the part of the students to question what was happening. They regarded it as entertainment rather than as part of journalism training. So what these journalism professors did is they established informal cash prizes to English teachers teaching English or teaching whatever the subject matter was, in order to encourage the teachers to develop a subject matter expertise and debate the issues in front of students, and then encourage those teachers to respond to questions from the students, to develop their own critical. Then the students were encouraged to form debate societies, to become familiar with the areas of conversation, and to understand that there's a to and fro to argument, back and forth. And then the other thing, which was sort of interesting, is the USIA sponsored what they call interview clubs, in which the students who are interested in pursuing a career in journalism, in writing, in critical thinking, were asked to be part of these interview clubs and the students would be asked, a student would be asked to take on a role, for example, of the prime minister of that country. And the other students would be asking questions, and they would reverse roles back and forth. And the USIA wrote about this at the time, and as I said, I witnessed this I witnessed the interview clubs in Bucharest. And I'm thinking, is there something relevant about that experience which might benefit Armenian students as far as the development of their own critical thinking and their own interest, perhaps, in journalism? A long prologue to a short question.
Hello. Actually, we have a lesson plan based on Watergate case about the watchdog function of media, bringing in some also local example how media could affect local processes. But it's, of course, it's hard for us to imagine that local media investigation can bring to resignation of but real changes. Like this is one of the things that we often hear during our trainings. Like media does the investigation, you find out something, so what? Nothing changes. And this is a really challenge for local media, because we do have some independent investigators who really do a great job, but not always very effective. But we do also have this format of interviews. We use this in these trainings as well in various other trainings. We do have some other institutions that are doing media training and helping to develop the skills. It's very hard. We are still looking for more methods to develop these critical thinking skills, because, as you said, it was not welcomed in this country or the Soviet country, and the teachers who teach in schools mostly they are people who were educated in Soviet times, so they need the skills themselves to be able to teach that or help the students to develop the skills. So it's a struggle. It's very difficult for us to do that, but we are trying small things. And we are not alone. There are lots of people who are trying to change the situation.
Խոսելով օրինակների մասին, ես ասեմ, որ երբ որ մենք միշտ նոր խումբ ենք վերցնում մեդիա գրագիտության, առաջին բանը, որ ես տեսնում եմ երեխաների մոտ, որ մտածում են ինչքանով է սա կարևոր ու կշարունակեն գալ, թե չէ.
Just to give a specific example of what we do, when we just start with a new group of students that would teach media literacy, the first question they ask themselves is that, is this something important? Are we going to continue coming to this trainings?
Եվ իմ այս տարիների 6-7 տարիների աշխատանքի ընթացքում մենք ունենք շատ լավ օրինակներ հենց տեղի մակարդակով տեղական, երբ որ մենք կարողացել ենք մեդիայի միջոցով թե խմբերը թե անհատները հասնեն փոփոխության.
But during my 6-7 years of involvement with these groups, I can already talk about success stories where our trainees have been able to achieve real change within our local communities.
Եվ օրինակ կարող եմ բերել, որ համայնքում ապրող մի երիտասարդ, որը ընդհանրապես կապեր չուներ արտաքին աշխարհի հետ, այսինքն ուսանող էր, ավարտել էր եւ հետ էր գնացել գյուղ.
I can just bring an example of one young man who had no relationship with the outer world. He studied and then after completing his studies, he came back to his community.
Ընդգրկվելով մեր տարբեր նախաձեռնություններում, ինչպես նաև մեդիա գրագիտության խմբում, նաև քաղաքլրագրող էր մեր ակումբում. Նա սկսեց խոսել համայնքային խնդիրների մասին, պարբերաբար ներկա լինել համայնքում տեղի ունեցող իրադարձություններին, վերահսկել ընտրությունների process-ը համայնքում, ավականու նիստերը.
So after participating in our media literacy training, and also he became a citizen journalism himself, he started following the local community, the local municipality, the councillors' work, and started following the elections and the issues involved.
Եվ հիմա նա արդեն հասել է նրան, որ ուզում է ընդգրկվել տեղական ինքնակառավարման մարմինների կազմում եւ անգամ առաջարկ է ստացել, որ առաջիկայում հնարավորություն կա անգամ մեզ կառավարության մակարդակով նախարարությունից ներկայացուցիչ, երբ որ տեսավ այդ երեխայի ակտիվությունը, ասաց, որ մենք էլ կաջակցենք, որ դու անպայման ընդգրկվես հենց տեղական ինքնակառավարման մարմիններում որպես արդեն աշխատող, այսինքն մոտ 2 տարվա ընթացքում ինքը այդ пассивությունից կարողացել է հասնել դրան։
So after taking interest in local issues, now he's actually thinking of running for a local office. And this is an example to show that within 2 years of being a very passive member of the community, now he's interested in the local issues. He wants to run office, and he has also even there was a visitor from the national government who saw the how active this person was, and they are also willing to support his campaign.
Մենք հնարավորություն ենք ունեցել առողջապահության տեղի մակարդակով առողջապահական համակարգում փոփոխությունների հասնելու, կրթության մակարդակում փոփոխությունների հասնելու, այսինքն մենք բերում ենք մեր տեղի օրինակները, որոնք գուցե օրինակ հանրապետության մասշտաբով, չգիտեմ, հետաքրքիր կլինեն թե չէ, բայց երբ որ երեխան տեսնում է, որ իր հասակակիցը կամ ուսանողը տեսնում է, որ իր հասակակիցը օգտագործելով մեդիան հասել է փոփոխության, այդ ամենալավ ստիմուլն է, որ ինքը իրոք օգտագործի այդ գործիքները ու իրոք փորձի մեդիա գրագետ լինել։
Again, on the local level, we have been able to achieve specific changes, improvement in the health sector, in the education sector, and maybe these changes do not have an impact on the national level, but when peers see that using media, voicing a concern through the media, their peers were able to achieve change, then that's the best stimulus, that's the best motivation for them also to use media in a way that they can affect change in their communities.
Thank you. We'll take one more question and then I'm going to Judy.
Մի բան էլ ուղղակի կարճ ես ավելացնեմ, հետո անցնենք հարցին։ Ես ուղղակի ուզում եի այստեղ ասել, որ այն ինֆորմացիան ինչը որ մենք ստանում ենք, դա քննադատաբար մոտեցումը կախված է այդ ինֆորմացիայի նկատմամբ մեր անհատական ու ներանձնային հատկանիշներից։ Եվ ինչպես մենք որ ընկալում ենք այդ ինֆորմացիան, ինչքան հասանելի ու լավ ձևով կարողանում ենք շրջապատին տալ ու հասու դարձնել, թե ինչի մասին է մեր խոսքը եւ ինչ ենք ուզում փոխել, բայց հեշտ ըմբռնելի, դյուր ըմբռնելի ասելիքի միջոցով, այդ ժամանակ մենք հաջողության հասնում ենք։ Եթե կուզենաք, ես տարբեր օրինակներ դասերի ժամանակ ուսանողներին համոզելու եւ քննադատական մտածողությունը զարգացնելու համար անում եմ։ Եթե ժամանակ մնա, մի փոքր խաղ է, կարող ենք այստեղ կազմակերպել։
So just a quick addition before we take another question. In terms of how we teach critical thinking is that we teach that everything we take as information, we pass it through our personal self, through our value system. So what we try to teach our students is that it is you have to understand your value system, your personal traits to be able to digest information and then to present that information in a more accessible way. And Armenia can also share some examples of how she actually provides those skills, and there is a small game and play that if we have time we can actually play here.
Judy?
To ask how you viewed the media coverage of the recent elections and what kinds of questions of the elections.
American elections?
No, parliamentary elections in Armenia. And yeah. And did your students raise questions about how the parliamentary elections were covered in the local
Կոնկրետ ես մեր համայնքի կամ մեր առումով ասեմ, մեր քաղաքլրագրողները հնարավորության սահմանում փորձել են վերահսկել հնարավորինս շատ ընտրատեղամասեր ընտրությունների ընթացքում եւ շատ ինտերակտիվ ձևով տեղադրել լուսանկարներ ընթացքի մասին պատմող, խախտումների մասին պատմող փոքր նյութեր Facebook-ում.
So again, going back to the experience from my community, I just want to say that they were part of the coverage because we work with citizen journalism and they were very actively involved in going from precinct to precinct and documenting and through pictures and narratives of different fraudulent activities they saw.
Եվ անգամ եթե օրինակ շատ հաճախ ընտրությունների ընթացքում մայրաքաղաքի մեդիան Երևանում գտնվող լրագրողները չեն լինում տեղերում եւ ինֆորմացիա վերցնում են հենց մարզային լրագրողներից եւ շատ հաճախ խախտելով հեղինակային իրավունքը.
And we have to face the reality that Yerevan-based, the capital-based media do not have correspondents in the remote communities, and they often rely on the coverage of local media, but they don't always credit them, and so there are copyright issues.
Եվ եղել են դեպքեր, երբ որ վերցնելով լուսանկարը, իրենք ինչ որ ինֆորմացիա են ավելացրել, անգամ օրինակ երբ որ նկարի տակ գրված էր մեր հասցեն կամ կայքի հասցեն, վերցնել են, կտրել են այդ լուսանկարը, ինչ որ բան են ավելացրել կամ հեռախոսով խոսել են օրինակ լրագրողի հետ եւ օրինակ լրագրողի ներկայացրածին ինչ որ բան ավելացնելով եւ կողմնակալ ներկայացնելով ցանկացել են իրենց ինֆորմացիան տալ այնպես ինչպես իրենց է պետք.
We have had situations when, for example, a photo that one of our correspondents made, they took the photo, took the byline out, took the caption out, never credited, and they used it in another context. We had situations when they talked to a local correspondent over the phone, but they again presented the information that got in a different context, in the wrong context.
Եվ սովորաբար ցանկացած ընտրությունից հետո մենք ունենում ենք քննարկում, որտեղ որ եւ քննարկում ենք ընդհանուր ընտրությունների ընթացքի լուսաբանումը, մեդիայի անդրադարձները եւ այդտեղ հնարավորություն են ունենում նաեւ մարդիկ արտահայտել հանրությունը իրենց կարծիքը արտահայտել, թե ըստ իրենց ինչպես մեդիան լուսաբանեց այդ ընտրությունների ընթացքը.
And every time there is an election, be it on the national level, on the local level, we have we at the club gather and have a debriefing session of discussing what the media coverage was, and the members of the community can also participate in those debates and say what they thought of the media coverage.
Եվ սովորաբար դրանք նաև հեռարձակման են լինում, որպեսզի եթե բնակչության մասը որ ներկա չի կարողանա նաև իրեն հուզող հարցերը տալ.
And we also live stream those discussions so that, and these are interactive, so members of the communities who are not there, they can also send in their questions and be part of the discussion.
You're welcome to join everyone at refreshments and ask more questions. I want to thank all these ladies for participating tonight and for this week. Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming. Have a good night.